Welcome to this week's Hymn of the Week. This week we have EOW 654, The Church's One Foundation. The text is composed by Samuel Stone, and he wrote this text in 1866. It was based on the 9th article of the Apostles' Creed, specifically the Communion of Saints and the Catholic Church, the Universal Church. It initially had a few verses, then it worked its way up to 7 verses, and then it was edited a bit, and that's the version we see here, where verse 3 was omitted and 6 and 7 were combined. Later there was another version that was used in cathedrals that had 10 verses. The music, Aurelia, is by Samuel Sebastian Wesley. And what's interesting about Samuel Sebastian is he was named after his dad, Samuel Wesley, a great musician as well. But his dad also wanted to make sure that he had the name Sebastian after Johann Sebastian Bach, the Baroque composer. So therefore he was named Samuel Sebastian Wesley, and he was a great church organist from the age of 16 all the way through his life. So I see that almost imprinted on this music, and we've had quite the analysis of this tune, because it's really the only surviving or major surviving hymn tune of Samuel Sebastian Wesley. You may find a few others, but this is the major one. And due to that, or the reason for that primarily, was because he was an improviser. So he didn't write much down. I can certainly relate to that since I improvise a lot myself. However, I'm glad he did write this down, because I want to point out a bit about some of the interpretations of this musically, so we understand a little more. First of all, there's the simple understanding that we have the low lines encompassing the lines in the middle, which are higher lines. That's certainly an easy way of explaining it, and that is within its 19th century harmonic envelope, which includes this term of Wesleyan dissonance. Now, I am a little perplexed by that term, because I feel, after looking at this music, I just see Samuel Sebastian Wesley really understanding music theory well, making good use of it with a text that was really well constructed, and I want to point that out to us. So let's go to the second line here. She is his new creation. Okay? So let me play that. Could be termed Wesleyan dissonance, but let's take it apart. This first chord doesn't sound that odd to me. I consider that, just if we respell it, an augmented E flat chord. So here is the fifth, the normal major, and then raising that fifth to make it augmented. What a nice way to use that, even with the text, she is his new creation. Isn't that great how well that fits? Now let's complete this line of it. Go again. It's repeating that B natural. But if I were to respell this chord, I have basically a fully diminished seventh. The difference here is he's putting that lower note, that seventh, in the bass, which is kind of considered wrong if you want to go with him composing. But honestly, she is his new creation, her charter of salvation. She waits the consummation, all referring to the church. This relates. So I don't see anything that's really off the wall harmonically. Let's do one more. In the last line, this we see in a lot of hymns, some of my hymns, that this is a suspension. So let me explain that. We have this chord. Because it's repeating, it's considered a non-chord tone because it doesn't fit. And therefore, it's being resolved, called a suspension, resolved down. So some of you may know this music theory, but the great thing about this is I see at least, I hope you see it as well, we see a master that really understands how to write a hymn. No wonder it survived so long. No wonder it's such a classic. I mean, the more I look at it, the more I see how well he understood the organ, how well it fits under the fingers. It's of interest, so it's a great tune. I'm going to move on now to how I want to interpret it for Sunday. First of all, I'm going to use an idea from Hal Hobson, utilizing an ostinato, or repeated bass pattern, to remind us of that 9th article of the Apostles' Creed. So go like that, right? And then in the 4th verse, I will use a colorful chordal harmonization to relate to the toil and tribulation, the text in it. And then closing in verse 5 with a majestic closing reharmonization by Hal Hobson. So here it is, the church's one foundation. thank you for listening, and I hope as you sing in the future this hymn that you're reminded of the Apostles' Creed.